The blue pill.
Okay, we are officially in the Matrix with G, my guest on Wild Eric's Traveling Podcast. We just got to Mi Pueblo restaurant in High Point, North Carolina. I've ordered a dos equis, and he has a tea with a lemon.
Sweet tea, actually. I gotta have sweet.
You need to talk more into the microphone.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can turn you up a little bit. How's this?
Maybe that, yeah.
All right, talk now. You good?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Much better?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so G and I met, I think back in the 80s. We worked in a convenience store. And the funny thing is, not only did we work together in the convenience store, but I had a dream that I met G about 6 years before I met him. I had a dream my consciousness was floating through a convenience store, and I saw him. It was a man from Pakistan with a very thick mustache.
Oh my God, that mustache! I remember that. I think that was kind of.
What were you trying to say back then through that mustache?
You know, usually we should stay PG, right? Because I got something in my
We need
hand.
to stay PG-13 at least.
13? All right. Well, that mustache, you know, in Pakistan, you gotta have a mustache. If you don't have-
Why is it important in Pakistani culture to have a mustache? Does it make you more of a man?
I think so. I think when you have them facial hair, you just kind of feel good. I remember when people used to make fun. It's like, hey man, look at your face, you know. Like,
You're trying to tell me that by having a mustache, it can elevate your mood.
yes, in Pakistan. But when I moved down here, that's a whole different story. I mean, I look like a...
Listen, do you think Queen's music was better pre-mustache or post-mustache?
Post-mustache. I mean, come on. You know...
What's your favorite Queen song?
I can't name one. I just watched the movie not too long ago.
With Rami Malek?
Yeah, that was great. I think it was pretty good.
I think it was really good, actually.
I think it was...
I heard that they were going to get Sacha Baron Cohen, but he had problems with Brian May, so they chose Rami Malek.
Really?
Yeah.
But I think Rami was a great choice. I mean, I think he has almost the same background.
When did you first see him? I saw him in Mr. Robot, and I was like, this guy.
Yeah, that's what I saw him first time too. It was great because it reminded me of myself, kind of, because I was into computers and all that.
It's not because you're Indian? You're not Indian, you're Pakistani.
I am not Indian. How dare How dare you?
But listen, here's the joke I was trying to make. Obviously, I know you're from Pakistan. But remember that Freddie Mercury, he's from India.
Are you sure? I thought...
Yeah.
No, I thought his parents were Persian.
No, man, he's Indian, man.
No,
in the
really?
movie, he's from India, yeah.
Don't ruin coins for me, man. Don't ruin coins for me, man. Really?
But the Indian people and the Pakistani people are at peace.
Oh, yeah, of course. I love their music. I mean, it's same music.
Their music is incredible, like with the hi.
Well, yeah.
And listen, if you're walking down the street and you hear a woman go hi, you'll be like, hey, how you doing? Can I buy you a coffee? That was a great hi you just did there. Can you do that again for me? She'll go hi. You know, you're not seeing that that's how you start the movie right now. You would go into that scene with the hi girl.
Well, I think the better your vocals are, the better.
Okay. The greatest rock and roll vocalist of all time. I was just discussing this with my cousin Dave. We think it's Steve Perry from Journey and Freddie Mercury of Queen. It'd have to be a tie.
Well, I would put them in the top 5 if you ask me. I mean, I'm not an authority on it, but I think Robert Plant should be there.
Robert Plant.
I think Robert Plant should be there.
Here's what I don't understand about Robert Plant. He's basically a rock star, okay, but yet he's working with Alison Krauss.
Well, I think that's a different Robert Plant. It's
I
just
feel like that's the kind of Robert Plant you would eat like salad too and do yoga.
He's like a grandpa
Robert, because I enjoy salad and yoga, but I feel like he kind of just was like, I don't care about Robert Plant. I just want to do something I enjoy. and that's how he got with Krause. It was like it had to be a genuine relationship. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, why would you put those two together? It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, that's true.
Are they in love? They don't date, right?
No.
Because that would be even better. Could you imagine if, like, take any female rock star and then any male rock star, and they come together and make their own band? Like, what if you had Joan Jett get to bet, like, what if she married Billy Idol and they had a band called Billy Jet?
It's a great name. I mean, you know,
picture the fusion. Because if you have two rock, and then what if they have kids and their kids are equally as badass? Can you understand the kind of family band you could have if your dad is Billy Idol, your mom's Joan Jett, you know?
Well, didn't they try that with Jackson Brothers and stuff? Like,
the Jacksons tore each other apart, though, didn't they?
See, it didn't work, so I don't think that.
I don't know. There's other bands that have been family. Like, what about Clannad? They're from Ireland, and they were the parents. Right. They were the parents of Enya.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you know, Bruce Springsteen is married to the girl. What's her name? I can't remember.
Patty.
Yeah, Patty.
But that's nothing. Was she from Ireland?
No, she's not. But they've been doing music together. So it could work.
What you're saying is that Bruce is creating music with his romantic partner. And that's a beautiful thing. How many people can say they've done that?
Not many.
Some couples get together and they paint the living room. But if you wrote an album together, that means you had to, like, take hikes into the forest, you had to smoke herbs, you had to drink drinks and have deep conversation. Because you can't make an album that's shallow if you're shallow, you know?
Well, you know, let me tell you.
Wait, hold on. I mean, you can't make an album that's incredible if you're shallow.
There you go. Yeah, but, you know... I think everybody's different, but I'll get tired of a person. I can't be with the person writing a whole... I mean, I can paint a room.
You can paint a room?
With another person.
What do you like Van Gogh? Or you have that kind of power? Did you learn that in Pakistan? How to paint?
Well, we want to go back to Pakistan. I did a lot of things in Pakistan, and a lot of things I shouldn't be talking about over here in public without some consent from other people.
Okay, we don't want to go. I told you we have to keep this like Seinfeld. Like it can't go like into some native territory. This is a comedic broadcast
with the Seinfeld style. Yeah.
This is basically we're doing Seinfeld live in High Point, North Carolina.
Well, one thing I don't really get.
I'm Larry David. You're Jerry. Or like how would you have it?
No, I like that. I think that's how that started. If you think about it, if you listen to their story, that's how they started. The two guys just sitting around. I'm pretty sure Jerry was drinking iced tea. I'm pretty sure Larry David was drinking some beer, just like you are.
Right.
Other than...
And listen, Larry was Jewish, and so was Jerry.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I mean, yeah, but they're New Yorkers. Both of them are New Yorkers. And
we're both High Pointers. Let me tell you, we're in the furniture capital of the world.
Yeah.
And when people talk to us, they don't realize that we are from the furniture capital of the world. And we say, listen, I don't know if you know this, but I grew up in the furniture capital of the world,
exactly.
And I know some things. I know about wood. I know about the scent of a furniture room.
Oh my God!
I know about the swatches.
The aroma.
I know about the food parties they have every night after the furniture market.
My God,
I know that once a year.
Parties?
This is true, G. This is a true story. Once a year, they make prostitution legal at the furniture market in High Point, North Carolina. Now, is this a good thing? No. But what I'm saying is when you grow up in the rough streets of High Point, North Carolina, and you know that if you go through 5 points at the wrong time, you're going to make some friends. My point is here, High Point, they're ninjas. Back in the 80s, it was reported that there were ninja schools erupting right here in Centennial. And there were gang wars for years. Yeah, Mike Hagar, Cody, Guy, they rose up.
Oh my God, yeah.
Mike Hagar was the mayor at the time, and he was friends with a guy who owned a martial arts dojo named Cody. And then there was a guy from Japan who was pretty much a philosopher in this area named Guy, and they came together to fight this gang called the Mad Gear.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's how they started the furniture.
Right.
Business, because
the
they were
furniture
cutting
was
down the
directed-
trees to
right.
get to those people because they were
Right.
hiding in the trees. They were cutting them down so much. They were like, why can't we do something about it? You know? And they have so many trees, so they were like, let's start some furniture business.
You know
That's
what,
how
it's
High
a-
Point started.
You
its
got to know
furniture
your
business.
history. And
Yeah.
I know my history about this town. I've been coming to this
This is your
Mi
town.
Pueblo restaurant in High Point for a very long
This
time.
is our town.
And every time I come here, I order a Dos Equis Grande. That's what's important.
It reminds you. It reminds you of your good old days, you know? When you were young. Even last year, you did the same thing a year before. So it's a connection that you have.
Do you remember Peter
grand
Dinklage?
connection. The grand connection.
Did you hear that Peter Dinklage speech when he's like, "Youth, I found out how fleeting that was." The older you
I need to
get,
go back and listen.
the older you get, the more you have a respect for people who are older than you. You're like, you made it that far? I'm not even there yet, and I've seen some things, and I've made some distinctions. But you know what? I'm finally glad that I'm about to leave the United States and go to Norway. Where have you traveled to, G?
You know, every time I go back to Pakistan, I want to go to a different country before I actually go to Pakistan. I've been to Turkey. I've been to UAE. I've been to Manchester. I actually lived in Birmingham when I was 5 years old for a year with my aunt, my dad. When I was young, I don't have any memories of it, but I think it's pretty cool. And I'm thinking of going back to UK in summer. And I think we talked about it. Like,
But what part of Pakistan did you grow up in?
it's called a province, Punjab. It's one of the biggest provinces in Pakistan, and I started school. I finished my school in Pakistan, and when I moved down here, I had to go back to high school because I was still young. So they wanted me to go to high school, but then the lady was like, I think you should just go do GED. You can do it faster. In 3 months, 6 months, be done with it. So I did my GED.
What?
General education diploma, I guess. I don't know. Something. That's where I met you. And, you know,
What year was that?
we have to narrow it down somehow. I can't remember.
Was it 2000
4, 5?
Oh my God.
That's where your favorite
When you have
roots-
to try to remember your life. We've known each other how many years? Like 20 years?
Yeah,
Almost 20 years.
almost 20 years.
I can't remember what. I think it was I was like 26 or 7. I was 27 at that time, and
Yeah, I remember. I learned some, you know.
I'm trying to remember. It's like going deep into my memory bank. You know, when
I know,
you're
it's-
trying to pull a memory that you haven't
Locked
thought
away
about.
yeah.
Because you think about everyday life, but then if you're trying to go back into an ancient memory, you have to really sit there, and you have to think also you drank a Dos Equis.
Oh boy. Oh my God.
After you've drank a Dos Equis, this is a commercial now for Dos Equis. After you've had a Dos Equis, and then you try to pull out a childhood memory, that memory may not be the same.
It will have twists.
Let's talk about what it's like to work at a Circle K.
No.
You remember what we did back then?
No.
Remember me drinking in the cooler?
Okay. So Ruth came, our manager, remember?
Right.
I can't remember her full name, but it was Ruth. So she come up to me and she's like, gee. I said, what? And she was like, Eric, He drinking in the cooler. It's like, what? Our Eric? She's like, Eric Maldonado. Yes. And I was like, no, I don't think. He's like, come here. So she showed me.
She showed you a video of me drinking on camera.
Well,
Because that's how I quit. That was my grand finale.
that was, and I knew it was.
I told you, I said, the day I quit this job, I'm going to be drinking all the beer in the cooler. And then I quit. But then I needed my job back like 3 weeks later. And Ruth was so nice. She's like, yeah, I'll give you your job back, but you have to work at another store, another Circle K, which was in the bad part of town.
Yeah.
And then one night, some guy came in high on cocaine. And he's like, I got these girls tied up with chains.
Dang.
He told me that he had these girls tied up in chains at his house, and he was just marching around my store high as heck on coke, and he scared me so bad that after I got him to leave, the cops came. I closed down the store, and I just never had that job again. I left after that. I was so scared of the third shift. And weren't you held up once?
Oh, yeah.
You got to tell that story. G was held up.
Well, actually, I was being a dumb. I was in the cooler, stacking up things, and I see this guy, and he had a gun en route, and it was AK-47. Yeah, that dude was standing like 3 feet behind, had a gun right next to her forehead, and she's like, I don't know, and she held her hand, and her tag says manager on it was hidden behind her hand, so he couldn't tell she's a manager or not. Well, I walked out of the cooler, and I had the tag, and it says assistant manager. And he's like, you? Like, what? Damn it. I mean, he's got a gun. I'm like, oh, fuck. You scared. And it's a young guy, 15, 16-year-old guy. It was just, gun is probably longer than his arms, man. Yeah, it was AK-47 full, like, lethal style. And then he was holding like this, like, in the angle. And you don't want to do that. Because you don't have a... Anyway, I was scared. So
you didn't, piss your pants or anything, did you?
No, but I was like, okay, so, I'm going to do what he tells me to do. And I will not make a move. Right,
all you can think about is your life in that situation, right?
Yeah.
You're like, look, whatever you want.
Yeah, I just bought a car. I was like,
but he just wanted money.
Bought a car.
So
I
you
want to
gave him
drive
money?
the car for a few days, huh?
What money did you give him?
Well, he was like, open the safe. And Ruth looked at me and she's like, hey, G, open the safe. And you can only open that safe, and then you have to wait 3 minutes to open it again. It's a time.
It's a time release.
Yeah.
So you can only give them so much.
Only give them $40 at max.
Right, I remember that. Because when we used to make the drops, when I was cashier with you, you had to keep dropping.
Yeah, keep dropping the money in that little tube. So I told him, hey man, I can only do maybe $40.
Can you hear me crunching?
I can hear you crunching, buddy.
Did everybody hear me crunching out there? That's terrible. It's the first time you're eating on a podcast. I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Okay.
This is brought to you by Doritos.
Doritos. You should buy Doritos and meat pepper.
Okay, I won't do that to my audience anymore. But they should.
It's a torture.
The audience should understand the magnitude of this conversation. In order to do that, you have to say, okay, Wild Eric has been drinking Dos Equis, and I took some herbal supplements before I came here.
But he did.
And let me tell you, it's put me in a state of, I feel like I'm just a happy little towel being flipped and flopped inside of a dryer with some fabric softener.
I think your whole life is like that.
Well, it's like a
I
dryer.
think as much as I know you. Whenever you move to Vegas,
G is
I don't
basically
know
saying that this is chaos, utter chaos. He knows that Wild Eric has lived in a sea of chaos.
Yeah, I think you live in not
So
a
listen,
chaos.
let's put it in
You
perspective.
float on the chaos.
You are currently a truck driver, right?
Yeah.
I am currently a security guard. you don't normally hear those perspectives. Like when you're watching like Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman, and now we have a security guard and a truck driver.
In a truck driver. I mean,
They don't have those podcasts. So therefore, people would need to really listen because
there's so many.
if you want advice in life
truck
and you want that
drivers.
advice to stick, the first people you should talk to is a security guard and a truck driver. Because how do you think you eat? A truck driver takes you the food. And let me also ask you this. What about your neighborhood security guard? You know, where are you going to, like, find your weed?
Yeah, so much for the.
Anyways,
No,
how long have we lived in this town? You got here in what year?
Oh, in 2004, I think. Yeah, 2004, 2003 and 4. I know I was back and forth. I used to go to New York a lot, and then I had a job over there. But basically, when I moved down here, and never went back. Brother, it's like my brain is crunching right now.
He's trying to make me into a professional.
But
listen, many people have never listened to a podcast in which the host is kind of incoherent. I think I represent a market.
Well, listen.
The incoherent market.
Let me
and
ask
it's not
you
being
two
tapped, G. The incoherent market is not being tapped.
It can never be tapped because you never tapped it. And there you go, tapping it right now.
Tap dancing. I don't want to make a tap dancing movie, but you might make me.
The ideas we come up with.
Listen.
But may I ask you a question? Let me ask you one question.
Why don't you ask me a question? I'm ready to be questionized.
Okay.
Interrogate me.
I know you lived in Vegas for so many years. Well, that's why you told us that you live in Vegas.
I live in Vegas. That's true. I live in Las Vegas. I was a taxi driver in Las Vegas.
So this is my
Interview
question.
me, G. That's why you're here today.
This is fascinating.
You take
I've
over.
never met a taxi driver from Vegas before. The strip of Vegas.
It's true.
Okay, so when people say that whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, I don't agree with that.
No,
I
because
think what happens in Vegas stays with the taxi driver.
Yeah. I'm the keeper of all of the
You're
knowledge.
the connection of that
I am
information.
the memory. I am the memory of Las Vegas.
And you were given gifts. You probably got bribed not to say some stuff.
My
right?
name is Tony.
Yeah. So you,
Tony the taxi driver.
I think that's a really good.
You like this voice? Because, yeah, this is Tony. Wild Eric had to step out for a minute.
Hey, Tony.
How you doing?
Well, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I was
Well-
a taxi driver in Las Vegas for probably about 6 years. And the morning I went and took the test, I stopped at a beer, had a beer at a bar, and then I went to the taxi driver test and I passed.
But you don't sound like you're from Vegas. Where you originally?
I actually was raised in Rhode Island, which years ago, back in the 70s. And I just kept to myself in those days, and did a little job here and there for my uncle. And then eventually I moved to Las Vegas to be a taxi driver because...
Are you're part of a family in New York?
Yeah, part of a family.
If you know what I mean?
Yeah, Sirianni's, yeah. We used to have a delicatessen, La Famosos.
There's something, a new family after the...
We were half Hispanic, half Italian. Yeah.
Oh, it's a mixed family.
A lot of Catholicism and UFO worship.
Okay, well...
It was a different type of religion, yeah.
Why did you leave Rhode Island? What happened? I mean...
Rhode Island, things were bad back then. I mean, I was running around with
You're running from FBI?
I was running with the wrong gang. I was getting into street fights behind the local Walmart for a while to pay for my rent. And it was tough. It was tough growing up in that part of Rhode Island at the time.
Okay, we are back, and G is interviewing Wild Eric,
Okay, so...
master of incoherency.
No, actually,
If you
it
want
makes a
incoherency, you come to me. You understand? I'm the master of nonsense. You tell me who else has that title. Wild Eric, master of nonsense.
Well, I'm
do you
very
disagree?
incoherent person.
Do you disagree
I
that I'm not the man of nonsense that I profess to be?
No, I can't disagree with you. I can't. I'm that incoherent audience. Like,
All right. Because
I
you've
have
proven
to
that
stay.
listen. Out of my ineptness to interview you, you will interview me.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, just a few questions, of course. The kind of life you lived, the kind of life I know. We have to have a wild, Eric.
We had a summer. Me and G
Rated
had
X episode.
We had a wild summer. The summer that me and G met, we met a girl named Jennifer, and she was from Germany, and she was like
From Pig Mountain.
she was beautiful, and I dated her for a little while. Even though I think she,
Yeah.
I don't want to. If she ever listens to this, I don't want to incriminate her. So I guess I didn't date her. Anyway, the point is, she's married now. She's a nutritionist.
Is she?
Yeah. But we had a great summer together because, here I had met you. I had met Jennifer. She introduced me to, like, German culture. Miro, our friend Miro.
Yeah. Miro.
And
he still is there, I guess.
yeah,
Jennifer,
it's funny. I want to tell this story, but I also feel like if this ever gets big and Jennifer ever hears it, she's going to go, Eric, you didn't need to be saying that because now my life, my husband have problems now because there's incoherencies to the story from the old days.
Well, no, but at the same time, it's maybe she has fond memories. Maybe she wants
I'm sure she has fond memories
I hope so.
because I used to bring her to my house and play piano for her. And back in the days
Put the
of
conhead-
Mike Annis.
Yeah.
We have a friend, mutual friend named Mike Annis, who literally has disappeared off the earth. No one can find him on Facebook. I've checked the local Hardee's.
None of the Hardee's?
He used to be a manager at Hardee's.
Yeah.
And
Up in Waukatown.
I've looked for the legend of this man who used to be. We actually used to do. I don't want to get into it, the fine details, but we used to do drugs together back in the day and party. And he was also in my band for a while, and then he just disappeared. No one knows where he is. You ever have friends like that? Have you had friends that have slipped through the cracks like that over the years, G?
I never. No, not like that. This is just.
This is not my slipping through the crack friend.
Yeah,
You never say that.
Not this day and age. You can always see them popping up here and there sometimes, or you can hear stories from somebody else like they exist. But Mike Annis, for like I asked you the other day, is he still alive? I mean, I'm not sure.
I've had a lot of
Maybe
friends
he
die.
became famous and he doesn't want to have to do with
Let's talk
anything.
about that. I had some friends die when I was in my 30s, and they all died like every year. It's like, hey, this is National Friends Dying Day. One of my friends would just die. And when the people die who really knew you, that's like a piece of you dies because it's almost like they're the historians of your life. Your friends are the historians. They can tell you where you've been. Like, oh, you were there at this time, and you may have totally forgot it, but your friend remembers. But when they die, it's almost like a record of you dies.
Guys, exactly. A part of memory that you shared is gone. It's just something that you can't really discuss.
And here's something that isn't this true? Like friends, even though that me and you haven't seen each other in quite some time, when you're really deeply friends with someone, you absorb part of their consciousness. And like when I'm alone, sometimes I think about what my friends would say if they were in this situation.
Right, yeah.
Like I'll have like a vision of like, oh, G would say this at this time, or the ones I lost.
You have a
Jason,
mental
Kenny.
conversations.
Yeah, where you have
Right.
these conversations with people that they're not even in the room anymore, but they're in your heart. So the essence, you're almost like a memory chip, a record of this person's life. And you can even, how in Star Trek they have the holographic chamber? It's almost like in our own minds, we have like the holographic, the holodeck, where we can summon up people in our lives who have really affected our lives. And their personality is still imprinted upon us, and we can kind of ask ourselves questions through that person's, imprint on us.
It reminds me of some conversations we have. Sometimes wish we had that something recording. Some of the conversation that we had.
The fact that we're recording this now, and we have the technology to do this, it's actually pretty incredible. And
we talked
it's
about it a
been
long
proven
time
through
ago.
Joe Rogan and everybody that people love a long-term conversation.
I think we talked about podcasts long before podcasts, even like and became famous. But you're right. I mean, the way I think,
Radio wasn't available to the common man.
not like that.
No, I mean it was, but it wasn't. Now, if you think about somebody in the 30s or 40s or 50s and 60s and so forth, or even in the 80s and 90s, there's no way to broadcast your own radio show. And also, listen, radio is evolving because now you can have people who are drinking or doing herbs as they are talking. And back in the day, it's like you can get on the radio and be like, hey, you know what, man? I'm going to have a beer, and then I'm going to have some herbs, and I'm going to totally do my own radio show. People will be like, you're fired.
That's the least.
You're fired.
They're going to call the police on you.
You're going to go to jail.
This is a cancer for society. Yeah. He's promoting...
And not only that, you can go... We're proving this. We're actually at a restaurant drinking, eating... Well, he's not drinking. But I'm drinking, and... I'm about to order some food, and thank you so much. And we're also doing a podcast. I'm working as I'm having a great time. And this is what I'm trying to preach out there to my audience. Why don't you find a way you can do your job and have a great time? Maybe you need to start a traveling podcast.
Listen, man. I'm going to...
Maybe you need to be a truck driver. Maybe you need to be a truck driver. Let me ask you, is truck driving... what can you tell the audience about truck driving? Do you recommend it? How's your hemorrhoids?
Well, I just started, so I haven't...
You just started with hemorrhoids? Okay, so you're still a novice.
Yes. But let me just say something positive about, truck driving.
You can't say anything positive about hemorrhoids. Why am I talking about hemorrhoids? People are upset. My audience is like, Wild Eric talks about hemorrhoids. Is that why I tune in?
Welcome to the incoherency.
You will get no more hemorrhoids from me.
Super incoherent.
I am the master of nonsense.
This is the moment. You should everybody just enjoy. This is the blessings you get from Wild Eric. I don't know where we're talking about. But let's go back. I wanted to say that if you are a thinker, if you like to ponder about things, and the truck driver is a good job. If you want to solve puzzles.
I see a movie deal in the future. It's philosopher truck driver or truck driver philosopher. We have to come up with this idea. It's like Highway to Heaven meets Quantum Leap, but you're a truck driver, but you're also a spiritual force and psychologist. And every town.
So I've been having a sessions.
Right. Listen, here's the show. Every town you go to as a truck driver, you meet up with maybe a lounge lizard or a lot lizard or people on the road that need your help. Like, oh my God, do you have $5? My baby is dying. And you're like, hey, I'm the philosopher truck driver. You came to the right place. I'm going to give you a new philosophy for your life, and you can change things, and maybe you could be better tomorrow. So you're quantum leaping into gas stations, and you're quantum leaping into towns with like bad Doctor Chinese restaurants. Right, you're almost like Doctor Who, but you're a truck driver, and then you'll stop at little gas stations and souvenir shops, but then you'll have a conversation with someone and change their life and make them into a giant success. You know what I mean?
Well, this sounds really interesting. If I wish I could do all that, but
aren't you doing that? Isn't this your life story? Because right now you're blessing my life, and you're a truck driver. It's like right now we're in your Quantum Leap show.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you're blessing my life.
Well, let's go back to your life for a second.
Okay.
So you moved back to High Point after
the pandemic happened. I remember it well. I was there the winter of 2019 going into 2020, and The Witcher was on with Henry Cavill, and I was like, wow, this show is amazing. Leave a little coin for your Witcher. Something like that. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was great. And then out of nowhere, it's not like my life was doing anything special. I think I was doing DoorDash out there in Vegas, but then everybody's like, hey, you ever see Stephen King's The Stand? Well, that's actually life right now. And everybody thought the pandemic was going to kill everyone. You remember that?
Yeah.
In the very beginning, it's like we're like this zombie apocalypse. Like, okay, everyone's going to die now. But it turned out that...
Whoever comes out is going to die.
I have utmost respect for anybody who passed away during the pandemic. I'm sorry for that, because a lot of people died, and it was a terrible thing, and I want to be serious for a minute and just say that was terrible. But through the grace of God, most of us lived.
Yes, we survived.
And now we have to ask ourselves, okay, what are we going to do now? So I moved back home to North Carolina from Las Vegas. And even in my car, the top end of my car has a Las Vegas plate, and the back end of my car has a North Carolina plate.
Oh,
and
amazing.
I kept
he
it like
gets
that
stuck
on
between
purpose.
Vegas and Carolina.
I kept it like that on purpose as a symbol, because I'll be doing things in both of those places.
That's amazing.
I have ideas for doing theater stuff in Las Vegas, at the Las Vegas Little Theater, and I have a thing where I want to do a visitation here once a year. But I want to be on the road most of the time, and then just have my 2 months off, and one in Vegas and one in North Carolina for a month. So
Yeah.
So that gives a little insight to my audience what I'll be doing, how a pattern's going to work. But I want to make movies with you. I think you've always been a great actor.
I think we did few scenes.
We did a few scenes, and we never, I've had a film interest for a long time, and I've tried to make movies, and I've had a lot of problems, and I've put out a couple things, but nothing I'm really proud of. But moving forth, I really want to get into that. We shot some stuff last week at the Anthony Bourdain mural in Kernersville, North Carolina, and then we actually shot some stuff at a rest home and some other random stuff.
Is it all connected?
It's all connected because it's part of the podcast. If people are listening, they can tune in. Soon I'll be releasing this movie of the Wild Eric's Traveling Podcast. It's going to be just like a behind the scenes. It's going to be some skits, some live music. It's something that people haven't really told them yet, that this is going to be a live music podcast too. We're going to have music. It's just going to be almost like art with no parameters.
Mm-hmm. It's like a visual with Wild Eric,
Well, the whole idea of Wild Eric is that I'm so wild in the sense that my interests will scatter every day. So you could be talking about firefighters one day, and then one day we're talking about old friends, like you and I. We're old friends, and I've always really loved, because I love cultures, and the Pakistani culture. One thing that G brought to my attention is something called pakoras.
Oh yeah, the delicious.
Why don't you tell us about pakoras?
Well, like I said, I am not a cook. I ran a restaurant for 5 years, but it was an Italian restaurant. But I'm not a cook. It's a Pakistani recipe called pakoras.
I'm sorry, did you say it was a Targaryen restaurant?
It was Italian pizzeria. Targaryen, that'd be cool. Idea.
No, you did. He had a restaurant in High Point.
I'm cooking some dragon meat.
Can we talk about the restaurant in High Point? Or no? Too private?
It's owned by somebody else, so I don't.
But you know what it's like to own a pizzeria. Just tell us about that. What was the experience like? And did you eat a lot of wings?
I did. In the beginning, oh my God, wings and pizzas.
When you own a restaurant, you could eat yourself out of business because you have unlimited wings.
Seriously. Oh boy. And you can have all kinds of wings, all kinds of flavors.
Did you gain weight because you owned a restaurant?
Yes, actually I did. Because, you stayed in this restaurant all the time, and if you know me, I get hungry a lot. Not going into details, but I do get hungry a lot.
So when you lost the restaurant or you gave it up or whatever, did you lose weight?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, well, look, I have advice for people out there. They're going to love this. If you want to lose weight, sell your restaurant.
If you have it.
Right now.
If you want to gain weight, then buy a restaurant.
If you want to gain weight, you buy a restaurant. See, these are health tips we're giving to the people right now.
Yeah, this should be a tip number 1. But don't be a truck driver. If you
don't be, that's what you currently do.
Yeah, but that's when you gain weight again.
Aren't you happy being a truck driver? I would imagine the money you're making, you have everything in your life in order.
Well, my goal is to get into some deep truck driving, business and social clubs.
So 10 years from now, you see yourself, owning a fleet of trucks? And
10 years from now, 10 years from now, I want to own my own island.
Oh, wow.
I think that...
What kind of island do you want?
I used to think I should buy a house.
Is it like an island of, you're going to have a home there, and you're going to have a business there? Is it just your private... What would you do with an island if you had one? I mean, what would you put? Golf courses, mini golf?
No, you don't want to invite people.
Bread factories?
Yes, you like to produce something to take care of the expenses.
Cakes. I think you should have an island of cakes, and you invite people to come to your island of cakes, think about it. Would you not go to an island if it was like the entire island is made of cake? Who would not go to
you
Cake
drown
Island?
yourself eating.
No, dude, think about this. World marketing. You buy an island, you call it Cake Island. You invite the cake boss, and people come to the Cake Island, and they get married with wedding cakes there, and then people can get naked and roll around in the cakes. But that's, we charge a lot for that because, it's
Exclusive offers.
you gotta, right. But, I mean, where in the world can you go right now and say you can get naked and jump in the cake tank?
Become part of the cake.
Become one with the frosting. Because no one's offering that. Cheesecake Factory, they don't offer that experience.
I like it.
But we could offer that experience. Have you done the nude cake roll? This guy, he comes in, he had 2 businesses, does the cake roll. 5 weeks later, he has 6 businesses. The cake roll is changing lives. Tony Robbins has the fire walk. We have the naked cake roll.
It sounds interesting. I mean, it could be. You're probably talking about maybe a Playboy kind of island. We could have that too, like exclusive offers. But if you want to ask me, I want to own an island in 10 years. But it's not going to happen. So I might be owning, a Honda Civic, a new one in 10 years.
You know what? I wanted this.
But what I wanted to do,
I'm weeping because I wanted this podcast to be coherent enough to capture your story. But then I realized that, as a incoherent master of nonsense, Wild Eric, I come in here, and my brain has been like exploded with herbs and delicious beers that I can only really just be a child in your presence. Like, Daddy, can you tell me a story? Because my mind is soft, like a little eggshell.
Boy, listen. Well,
this is like a daycare. Right now you're running a daycare talking to me.
You always surprise me. Every time we have a discussion, you always have this open mind of incoherency. Like, we talk about religion, and all of a sudden we talking about hell.
I love religion, and I'll tell you why. Because in religion, there are like supernatural beings, like angels and jinn, and they fight, and there's like miracles. I love religions.
But you became a born-again Christian, right?
I am a Christian now, but here's the thing, okay?
No,
because especially after this podcast is released, people say, what kind of Christian is this? He's drinking beer, taking herbal supplements.
Advertising.
And then my reply would be, I'm an honest one.
Exactly. Honesty is the best policy.
And I'm not doing anything through my own strength. I always said, Lord, have mercy and grace. It's not by my own godliness. All I want to do is pray for people. I don't want to convert people. I just want to pray for people because I love my neighbor. And I love you, G. You're my true boy.
I love you too.
Right now, our fist just bumped.
I know that. I wish you could see that. It's been. Well, let's talk about. Let's talk about the experience. Like, how was that from? Maybe did you have any thought about religion when you were driving in Vegas? When in that.
No, I mean, yes, of course, because I feel like your faith is always with you when you're a child, and the faith is instilled into you. It doesn't matter if you walk away from it; it's still part of your makeup. And so, throughout my life, I've really tried to have respect for my Christianity, but realized it was something in the past. And as I got older, I just said to myself, well, I'd like to be a better rounded person. And I think that having a moral standard that Christianity offers is good. I've seeked out the Lord's relationship, my personal relationship with Him. Is it perfect? No. But I want to believe in God. Jordan Peterson said something where he said it's actually probably better for people to believe in the higher power, to believe in God, is a so they have more of a moral compass. The salsa you're pointing to,
messing up your coat.
G was informing me that my shirt went into the salsa. It's okay. You see, this is this is salsa proof. I wear salsa proof clothing. It's actually a trademark that I've had for a long time. It's called Salsa Proof.
Are we promoting salsa right now?
No, my company's called Salsa Proof, and anything you wear will repel the salsa.
Also, you're saying if I spilled salsa on one of your fabric, I can eat it.
To wrap up what we were saying before is like, I'm basically not trying to live my life as, I'm not like the perfect Christian example, but I do care about God, and I'm doing my best to serve God and to love people. But I'm also not going to be ashamed of having a beer and taking some herbal supplements. That's, But I'm out there. Listen, my mission
right?
that I think God's put me on is to pray for people, including myself, and pray and love your neighbor and explore the world. Because He's put that inside of me. He's put that little Jean-Luc Picard in my heart.
That's what I really like about you. Your incoherency sometimes do a perfect circle. Earlier you were saying that, your personality is actually a stamp of everybody you meet in your life,
That's deep, and yes, I agree.
It's just a reflection. So sometimes something happens to you and you don't have original response. You copy somebody that you know, or you try to think somebody that you know. Now that you said what you said...
Are you calling me a copycat? You call me a copycat?
I'm not sure who I'm talking to right now. So.
You call me a copycat?
Well, that's what your name is.
I don't want to go back to doing Tony. No,
No, you're not going to... Okay, well, Tony's
Let's
a dark...
get back on some
Tony's
common
very
ground.
dark.
Some common ground. Let's get back to pakoras. What other things can you tell us about the Pakistani delicious foods? Pakoras are like a cornmeal, like fried chicken. Sometimes they have chicken in them. Sometimes they're just regular.
Yeah, it could be just the veggie in it. Or it could be pakora. It could be beef. It's all up to you. Whatever you want to.
They're very light and fluffy. They're like a dream in your mouth.
Snack,
it's like a Pakistani dream.
It's expensive party stuff. Like,
are we doing poetry now?
It could be a good idea. I mean, if you can do poetry like right out of nowhere. I can't come up with it.
Can I try it? Can I do it? Can I? We'll do. We'll
I think
why don't we have a rap battle right now?
Well,
okay, I'm gonna go first.
I'm a good listener.
We'll try it, see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll move on. Okay.
You do it, and I'll appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Look into my eyes, and you'll see. I'm just a guy from New Jersey, eating pakoras. They taste good. Pakistani friends cooking it, baby. That didn't really rhyme, but anyway, we tried.
Well, with pakoras,
if that's all the poetry this podcast has to offer, I don't know. This podcast might just be like an underground dwelling for those who have
I don't think you
crestfallen and fallen into the sands.
I don't think you can.
Of incoherency.
You can publish this podcast.
I am publishing it, and I'll tell you why. Because this is a message out there to anybody out there who's drank a Dos Equis today, who's sitting on the beach and says, "Hey, I don't want to take life too serious today. I just want to have a great time." And I would be more coherent if I wasn't just like drinking and having a great time. My boy here. We should take a break. Probably. They come back.
You want to order food? Okay.
All right, let's do that. We're taking a break, and then we're going to order the food.
All right, let's order
all right, I'll just hit stop. Let's see, maybe that'll work. Okay, we are back with Wild Eric's Traveling Podcast in High Point, North Carolina, in the United States of America. I'm here with my friend G, and we're talking about manzai, which is a traditional style of comedy in Japanese culture comparable to double-act comedy or stand-up comedy. Manzai usually involves two performers, a straight man and a funny man, trading jokes at a great speed. Most of the jokes revolve around mutual misunderstandings, double talk, puns, and other verbal gags. So I am a fan of Japanese culture. You know that I've been studying Japanese language. Genki desu ka? Which means how are you?
Genki desu ka?
Genki desu ka?
Now I know some Japanese too.
You do? Genki desu ka is how are you?
How do you say okay?
Okay is it's just basically is like yes.
But I think okay.
There's also it's basically or height is like okay. Height is like correct, like height, and then is like good. Yeah, it's good.
You should go to Japan. I think you learn a lot faster, don't you think?
Yeah, and I am going to Japan. I'm going to Norway first, then I'm going to England, and then I'm going to Japan if I can afford it. That's why I really need people to, donate to the podcast. I'm on PayPal, and I'm on Cash App, Wild Eric 777, because I'm trying to start this business, and any donations are appreciated. I don't know how that's going to work out. G's trying to set up
but it's just
some video
just for
stuff.
us.
Yeah. And I'm gonna take a drink now, and I'll let G take over the podcast.
Well, I was just thinking when you said you really like Japanese culture, and I think you should go to Japan and we do a podcast from there.
I'm going to Tokyo. I have a friend named Steven. He is a English teacher in Tokyo. Has a beautiful Japanese girlfriend, which really, who wouldn't want that?
I have a question you should ask Steve, maybe.
I love questions. I'm the master of nonsense.
I've seen these Asian girls, like Japanese and Chinese. They don't really get old until they're 50 or something, and then all of a sudden they age in 1 year. Is that true?
I disagree. I think that no matter who you are, then how your flesh may betray you, like Judas, you have to say, I'm going to get in the gym, I'm going to take the stuff.
Then you said,
all right,
no,
we're back. Now, let's talk about people and aging in general. Thank you so much. Our burrito has arrived.
This is awesome.
I think that the water, I'll have a smaller version of this. Smaller one. Of Dos Equis. Huh?
I'm good.
16 or 20?
Just the 16 is good. 16 ounce of Dos Equis on the way. We're wrapping up the podcast here, Wild Eric's Traveling Podcast, with special guest G. And we are talking about
the aging.
No, the thing is, you were talking about aging, maybe Japanese women aging, so forth, people aging. I think everyone's in control of that to a degree. Look, everyone has access to a gym. Everybody has access to eating the right foods. Everybody has access to a plastic surgeon. So it shouldn't be about how much you care about your image. It should be more about, are you okay with it? You know what I mean? Like wearing a suit or having a good health ethic. Those are all great.
Yeah.
But you have to have a balance of, okay, do I look good? And then your own soul. So if you get obsessed with looking good, it could actually tarnish your soul.
True.
So I think
you have to respect.
You have to have a reasonable level of, okay, this is a good enough balance for me. You shouldn't be obsessed with it. Thank you so much. Because if you're obsessed with your looks, you lose out on life. Your looks, you should care about them. You shouldn't care. It shouldn't be the only thing you care about.
Yeah, but we live in a society where looks kind of defines you these days.
No, that's just a construct. We're all a bunch of cave people who formed a society. But if you take that all away, we're just somebody looking for food, and we don't have to look like a magazine says. You want to look as good as you can, but that doesn't really matter.
Well, that's what I was talking about. Some Asian people. Well, there's an island in Japan that everybody gets to live over 100 years. I can't imagine how you look, when you're 100. I would say you should kind of reborn. Like they said your tooth start coming back, but 100 years these days is kind of different.
Yeah, but it's not about so much what you look like. It's how you live your life. I mean, you could be really weird looking and still write the greatest book ever. You could be really weird looking, like me.
Well, most of the writers are weird looking.
And have a podcast.
What's that guy's name of Game of Thrones?
Which guy? There's so many great guys. I like the Hound.
The writer.
Oh, George Martin. Like, he's not exactly, Mel Gibson.
Can you hang out with George? I don't think I can hang out with George.
You could hang out with George Martin for a little while. You think he'd get on your nerves?
No, I think he's kind of different, kind of weird for me. I can.
It's like Tarantino. Tarantino's like a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
I love George, Tarantino, but it's like, when does he slow down, right?
Yeah, that's another thing, man. He's he's a restless soul. Like, look at him. He's been making movies since '90s.
But I would like to hang out with Quentin Tarantino. I think he's actually, when it comes to film and everything, he knows a lot, you know.
But if you're into that stuff, yes. But at this point in my age, you know, my life, I would like to hang out with my friends, trying to reminisce my memories, because I don't think I'm making any more memories, you know. I'm stuck, because the way I think, all good, great memories, they should, you can't repeat them, but you can reminisce on them, you know, with your friends. And I think you should do that instead of...
okay, are you saying
instead
this?
Instead of making a new friend, you should stick with what you got, because...
I mean, tradition's good, but I'm saying, what about exploration? Everybody's life, at a certain point, doesn't matter how old you are, you still have to explore your life. You can be 90 years old. William Shatner is 91, and he says he's like reinventing himself all the time. He just went to space, man.
Yeah, but that's really, you know, you don't see how many people live a life like his. He's one of those guys that doesn't age. Look at him. Our grandpa watched his Star Trek, and we were watching him going into space right now. So
aging is all about...
I would say age is a number. I agree, but
just take care of yourself and be happy. No one's ever going to look like, you know. And not only that, like maybe you think you're the most beautiful thing ever, or whatever. People are into all kinds of stuff. You know, there are girls out there that are beautiful, but I'd rather have the one with the crooked nose.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I don't want to have a crooked nose girl, but yeah, you're right. I don't have to have a Cindy Crawford of my time. I mean, you know,
I just want one that's interesting. You know, I want a
let's
woman
talk
that's
about this.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk about women. What I want?
Yeah,
I like that
every
topic.
time I think of your...
As I'm eating this really spicy burrito that is
all the
amazing.
spice in your life that you've been, you know, you had. But every time I think of you, it reminds me of Seinfeld. Like, you know, this guy has a different girlfriend in every episode.
I've dated a lot of different women over a span of time. Yeah.
Yeah, just
and I
like
try to be
Seinfeld.
on good terms with all of them, and as far as I know,
Exactly.
even though it's over,
Except
I believe
for a couple of them that I know.
I've accomplished the miracle of being on good terms with all my ex-girlfriends.
Yeah, except for a couple of them, but they were...
No, name one.
I have to tell the story, which I can't. So I'm not gonna
You
name
can't tell
her.
the secret story?
No, I can't really do that.
Okay, guys, so listen, I just want to tell you this. Mi Pueblo in High Point, North Carolina. If you come here, I'm eating their California burrito, but I asked for it to be extra spicy with jalapenos. I think that I need to recommend this to the world.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks really good, though.
Yeah.
California burrito. That's what they call it, California. It has everything in it, I guess. That's what California is. It has everything in it. But let's talk about...
I believe you were making a point, G. What was your point?
Well, you met a lot of different girls in your life, right?
I have, yeah.
But
I haven't met the one, though.
Well,
I'm
you
looking
met
for
the
a girl
one for the...
who is as crazy as I am. A girl who basically likes to be... My number one requirement for anybody I date is they have to be nonsensical.
So it has to be Wild Erica.
Wild Erica. No, I don't want somebody who takes life too serious. I want them to just burst out into a song and a dance and just try to make fun of life.
Dude, then you're living in the wrong town. You know where you need to go.
Well,
you need to
that's
go
why
to
I'm
San
going to
Francisco.
I'm going to Norway.
Yeah, go to Norway then. I don't know what kind of... Do they have girls over there?
They do have girls in Norway. A lot of
They do?
blonde ones that sing in the hills and eat reindeer steaks. It's very spicy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our waitress is fantastic here at Mi Pueblo.
Checking on your food.
Yeah.
But talking about Norway, I mean, do you have any contacts? Like before
I only have contact with my Airbnb host right now. His name is Alan.
Are you sure?
He is from Argentina.
Hold on. He's got a... So...
Again, God tortures me by sending me Spanish people because I don't speak Spanish. But I'm trying. I mean, I know a couple words. I know tiburon means shark. And I know el baño means bathroom. And mi amor means my love. So,
Baño means white.
baño means bathroom.
Really?
How's that bean dip, G?
This is fantastic.
A man from
it.
Pakistan is enjoying the bean dip
Cheese
of
bean
Mexican culture.
So, if you
What?
go to, not if, but you are going to Denmark. I think that's your
No, I'm
first
not going to
international.
Denmark, damn it. I'm going to Norway.
No, well, same thing, isn't it?
I would tell the city. Did I already tell the city? But I'm not. Anyway, I'm going to Norway.
What's the name of the city?
Bergen.
Bergen. Like Bergen?
Like
Like a burger?
burger and yeah. And I heard they have reindeer steaks there. And reindeer hot dogs.
Well, I don't know what kind of hot dogs reindeers.
No, it's a hot dog made of reindeer meat, man. I mean, they're very popular. I think they should have a restaurant out here in North Carolina during Christmas, a seasonal restaurant, where they have reindeer steaks. Rudolph's reindeer steaks.
It's a good idea, but
And you have a bloody nose. Well, it's a glowing red nose, and steaks as bloody as Rudolph's nose.
I guess you gotta have a connection in Denmark to get all the reindeers.
Hey,
you
man.
don't have enough.
How many times I got to
reindeers
tell you it's not Denmark? It's Norway.
I keep saying Denmark, you know. I don't know why I keep saying it.
I got a friend in Gothenburg. That's in Sweden. I think she was going to open a club.
But the way I understood, man, if you can go to any country in Europe, you can go to any country in Europe. Like if you can go to, England, you can go to any country in Europe, can you? Like it's one visa for all of Europe, right?
Well, this brings to mind that there are rules. If you go to Norway, an American on a passport is able to go to Norway for 30, it's actually 90 days in a 180-day period. So when I go to Norway for 2 months, I have to leave because I only have 90 days there, and I'm going to England. In England, on an American passport, supposedly you can stay there for 6 months without, and so you have to leave.
So how long you staying in England?
As long as I can. Right now I have 1 month booked in Brighton, and it's right by the sea. I'm looking forward to that. There's also a festival in May, a music festival going on in May in Brighton.
Well, England is a country that has so many cultures because they rule all over the world and everybody moved there. I think you're gonna get to meet a lot of people if you go to any of them big cities like London or
I'm looking forward to it.
Manchester.
I'm looking forward to hearing all the different accents because there's a lot of different English accents. You get the Cockney. What's it called, Cockney? Yeah. Cockney. You get the London accent. Then you have like the Northern accent that's closer to like a Scottish kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm just so interested in meeting the people. And then also when people listen to the podcast, they'll be able to hear all the different accents for all the places I go,
Well, I think that's what really differentiates your podcast from anybody else. You're actually going to places instead of like inviting people over the phone or...
That's true. I thought about that. Like Joe Rogan, he's got a good thing going on. But, he's not traveling. And one of my main influences that people will find out is Anthony Bourdain. I was a rock and roll musician for years. I started watching Anthony Bourdain's TV shows, Parts Unknown. And I really understood. I was like, hey, that's what I want to do, but I want to do it with music. Because Anthony Bourdain did his thing, and his background was being a chef. My background has always been a songwriter and garage musician, and I love talking to people and getting crazy and being nonsensical.
Well, you did good so far. I mean, think about it. Your artistic capabilities, you try in every single way, and that's what I really like about you. You never really gave up. And now I like this. You have this new...
I can't give up. This burrito's causing me to tear up.
You better stay and finish this podcast before I gotta go to the bathroom.
No.
But, so,
You can't give up. I mean, think about it. If you give up, what do you got? You still have to live. So the way I look at it is, you should follow your dream, because the other thing you have in mind is probably really boring. And I would rather live in fighting for something that's exciting than to be perfectly satisfied in something boring. You know what I mean? Life is Helen Keller said this. Helen Keller said, life is a daring adventure, or it's nothing at all.
It's nothing at all. For some people's lives are defined, predefined. It depends on which part of the world you live in.
Yeah, and some people actually, like my brother, for instance, he's perfectly content with living in his apartment and having a nice little, well-defined, circular, square world, Mm-hmm. Other people, I think I'm more like Jean-Luc Picard. Jean-Luc Picard, and there's an episode where he is inside of a probe, living a different life, and he was stuck in a small town, but he still would explore the outskirts because he was an explorer. And I see myself as a explorer poet, and I'm also the master of nonsense.
That's true. That is very true. For as long as I known you're making sense of all the nonsense in our both. Every time we sit down, we talk about stuff that doesn't really concerns us at all. But it's really, just it's like a mind freak break. Like you go on a vacation. Every time I have a sit down with you, it's like I'm going on a
vacation from logic.
Yeah, vacation from like the normalcy of this life. Like
that's true. It's a strange journey. Let's talk about us going to the land of Oz. You and I went to the land of Oz.
Yeah, here in North Carolina. It's not very well known place, but it's amazing.
It's on Grandfather Mountain. It was made probably back in the 40s or 50s. Somebody made a Wizard of Oz theme park. It's got a yellow brick road, Dorothy's house. They put on a play for you, and the play happens all around you. Mm-hmm. When you go to a theater and watch a play, it happens on the stage. When you go to the Land of Oz, the play happens around us.
Yep.
And the actors were good. It was overall a good experience, I thought.
They were actually in the process of improving because the road was kind of messed up. So they were spending more money, and maybe we should do it again after you do your world tour. Check it out. Maybe they added anything or digital.
I think we should do a show there. Show the people the magic of this replica. Because Wizard of Oz is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm a huge Judy Garland fan.
Of course.
I download her pictures on the regular.
I'm not
for
going
what?
To reason.
For what? To admire.
Of course.
Yeah. Because
think about it. When a man downloads a picture.
When I was a child, let me tell you a story. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to run over you, but the world has to know. When I was a kid, my brother found out that I had a crush on Judy Garland.
Yeah.
And he says to me, "You love the dead."
I can see Bob saying that.
And I do love the dead. Judy Garland, I watched some of her old interviews on YouTube. It's fabulous.
So you actually like this black and white, non-glamorous, glamorous Judy?
I was with my mother once, and my grandmother was present. So I said, let me torment my mother by sicking my grandmother on her. Because no one can torment you like your own mother.
No.
So in order to torment my mother, I said to my grandmother, "Hey, Grandma, Mom says that Judy Garland's not attractive, that she looks like a pig." And my grandmother's like, "You're out of your mind. Judy Garland was beautiful." And my mom gave me a look like, "Did you just sick my own mother on me?"
Well,
it was glorious.
You had some good memories of Grandma that I knew, like your dad's mother, right?
Oh, you do my Grandma Carmen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually need to put. There's a video of her singing some songs, and she has a UFO encounter. In my new movie coming out soon, just called Wild Eric's Traveling Podcast. It's my grandmother is going to be interviewed talking about her UFO experience, how she saw one.
Do you have any story of her and you? Because I remember you telling me some stories, like how you call her sometimes, and she was a very funny woman. One time I was hanging out with Bob, and out of a sudden she come out of her room and she's like, I know. And you were like, what do you know, Grandma? She's like, I know why your grandpa disappeared for so many hours every day. And Bob said, well, he was a salesman, right? No. He be hanging out with the beautiful girls. I know it. And we were like, Grandma, that's
my
like 40
grandmother,
years ago.
as she got older, she would forget that my grandfather had died. And she would ask, Eric, tell me the truth. Did Grandpa leave me or did he die? Did he leave me for another woman? And I would say, Grandma, no, he died. And she goes, oh, yeah, I remember now.
She was such a sweet woman.
Very sweet woman. She gave me her mutant power. And her mutant power was anywhere she went, she could just make friends with people. And that's the same gift I'll be using to
One time he lost her
make
in
this
Walmart.
podcast happen. Because, you make friends and people care. And then you have a network of people that care for you and, can help you out through life,
True. She was a very... we had good times. Sometimes Grandma shows up and me and Bob are hanging out and she tells us stories and we can't just stop laughing. It was like...
Oh, she was funny.
She was
very funny.
She always like, did you talk to Eric? Bob was like, yeah, I did. And she said, for Eric, why Eric don't call me? Well, I'll tell him to call you, talk to you. Yes.
I wish I would have called my grandmother more back then. She would call me sometimes. But
I think you was her favorite, man, if you ask me, because she doesn't get to see you as much.
I don't know if she had favorites, but I'll say this, that there's a time to have a grandmother and a time not to. Like, both my grandmothers are finally have passed on. And now they're alive within me. Like I said, every person you meet is an imprint. And so there's times that I'll have a thought that was instilled by my grandparents, And they're all good memories. I'm blessed because so many other people went through life and maybe they never had a grandma, or whatever. But I did, and it was good. So
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
It's a philosophical question.
I love philosophical questions.
We here talking about imprints again. That's where we started.
Imprints, yeah.
So my question is there any original human being on this planet?
Oh, you can take that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Is your name Dulce?
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean honey, sweet?
Yeah, sweet. Yeah. In English, if you
That's
just
pretty
say
cool.
it's kind of sweet. I'm not really sweet, but
She's not sweet.
I'm trying my best.
But she's
you
trying
are
her best
sweet.
to be sweet.
You are very sweet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So my question...
I'm starting a whole new movement. People who like to eat in restaurants can now sell their conversations. Because think about it, you're always trying to figure out what the next person's talking about anyway.
Yeah, true, and she can give you her Cash App account, like transfer money right now.
They owe me money now. I'm bringing them business, right?
No, my question, if you think about it,
Oh, what's your question?
everybody, according to you, has an imprint
Right.
of other people
Totally, yeah.
in your relationship.
And you can bring them up in
your
the
past
holodeck of your mind. You can conjure up all your close friends.
So
from the
where's
past.
the originality of it? Where are you?
I think that
Where do you live?
the originality comes from this. We all are an amalgamation, an aggregate of all the different things we've experienced. Not just people, but events. Not just that, but TV shows, music. We're all just a big filter of every experience you ever had. And where the originality comes from is this, that it's almost like a child is an offspring of the parent. I think creatively, us as people is kind of like all the different colors put together that we have chosen. It's like we're all making a big tapestry, or you ever see those pictures where it's people cut off a bunch of pictures from a magazine and they make it into a collage?
Yeah.
I think that every person is a collage of all their experiences, but it's a collage that was carefully chosen. Some of it's probably subconsciously chosen, because sometimes we make decisions that's subconscious, but I think we're all a collage, like a walking collage of all our experiences. And that's what is the difference between copying and not copying, because even if you're copying in your way.
Still makes it original in a way.
Right. John Lennon said, it's not if you steal it, it's how you steal it. And people have no choice but to steal from whoever they're being influenced. Like my friend Dan and my friend Kenny, every once in a while I actually do rip off their style of talking. Because I remember my friend Kenny, he had an interesting way of talking, and my friend Dan, who'd passed away, they had an interesting way of talking, and I kind of absorbed that. I absorbed their personalities because, but not to the point where I am them. It's just like a homage.
Yeah, kind of have
so the uniqueness that
memories.
The uniqueness that each individual projects is almost like a handing down of genes, of a collage of anybody who ever really influenced you.
Let me ask you another
copying,
question.
but a blending.
Let me ask you another question. I think it kind of will take you a little bit more of a deeper dive.
Okay.
So a person is original in his own way. So it's like a spectrum. You get all these memories, all this imprint, and then you shine your own light.
Right.
So it's the backward. Instead of the white light coming to you and your many lights, instead of the many lights coming to you, you're making this one white beam. So my question is, a person is more original when he's talking to other people, because then he doesn't have time to think. He's just saying stuff. Or a person is more original when he's all by himself and he's actually trying to get the creativity part of his going.
Being more original?
Yeah, being more
I think that
ethnic.
here's the thing. You should want to hit the mark, but you shouldn't be so obsessed with the mark that it affects your genuineness.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you can go after any goal you want in life, but you have to understand there's going to be an imperfection to that. You have to surrender to the imperfection. And my philosophy is that you should be trusting God to direct you, and you should be in constant prayer. But if you're not someone who's religious, it's a matter of just understanding that you're going somewhere, but you need to take with you self-forgiveness. You can't be so obsessed with your performance that it affects the naturalness of who you are. It's more important, I think, to be genuine than it is to be perfect.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to talk to you after your world tour, because the way I understand you're an absorber. You absorb things around you.
I do subconsciously. A lot of my thought process is very...
I would like to see a little bit of Norway, a little bit of UK.
Talk to me after I've been to Norway.
Yeah.
Or you should talk to Norway after they've been through me.
I think that's a good point. We should how do you feel now?
So Norway, how do you feel after Wild Eric has stormed through your
years?
neighborhoods, asking people strange questions and eating all their fudge?
The Norway chocolate is gone.
Dude, I have an eating disorder. I'm trying to fast.
Yeah, don't.
But today, so far, I've had a couple beers, and I've had the spicy jalapeno burrito over at...
Well, you had munchies, so
the meat. I had munchies, perhaps. Look, I think we should close, and I'll tell you why. Because I have to pee. I think that's the perfect reason